The day Fatima disappeared, the truth died twice, once in the hands of her killers, and again in the hands of justice. It was Thursday, the 5th of February, 2015. In Lerma, Estado de Mexico. At the Quintana Gutierrez family home, the morning began like any other. 3 of the children still lived there: Fatima, Daniel the youngest, and Omar. The 2 older daughters were already married. That day, as always, Fatima woke up early at 5:30 a.m. She was a dedicated, responsible teenager, one of those who didn't need anyone to knock on her door to get up. She walked into her parents' bedroom and asked who would walk her to the bus stop. Her father offered. She smiled, in a hurry as always, because she hated being late for school. The last image her mother has of her is this: closing the door, crossing the hallway, and walking away quickly alongside her father. At the stop was her friend Selma, accompanied by her mother, along with other students. The bus arrived, the kids got on, and they headed toward middle and high school. Fatima's father walked back home, chatting with Salma's mother, and then went with his wife to a meeting in the neighboring community. When they returned, they picked up Daniel, ran a few errands, and got back home around 1:45 p.m. The mother began preparing lunch, thinking Fatima would come home hungry. Jimena, the eldest daughter, was chopping lettuce. The father was peeling cucumbers. Everything seemed normal, until a sudden feeling hit her. She looked at the clock. It was 3:40 p.m. Fatima should have been home long ago. Anxiety began to grow. Daniel was about to go look for her, along with Tonito, Salma's younger brother. But the mother didn't want to wait any longer. She slipped on her sneakers without tying them and ran out. Her husband and Daniel were ahead, going down the streets toward an open field that connected to several houses. She stopped in front of a fence made of wooden poles. It was the home of Luis Angel and Misael. She saw Misael sitting on the armrest of a chair, the door open. The distance between the door and the fence was minimal, impossible not to make eye contact. She asked him if he had seen Fatima pass by. He said no. At that moment, Daniel appeared from the path, and she asked him to check at Salma's house. They went together. When they arrived, they saw Salma washing dishes. She said she had indeed seen Fatima. She was walking along the usual path, but she didn't stay with her. The last time she saw her, Fatima was still heading home. On the way back toward Misael and Luis Angel's house, the mother heard the sound of a window opening upstairs. It was Luis Angel, his hair wet, shirtless. He also denied having seen Fatima. Then Salma spoke up. "Don't lie. I saw you, both of you, Misael and Luis Angel, together with El Pilon, standing at the wrought iron railing, whistling toward where Fatima was coming." The tension rose. The mother asked Salma to show her exactly where she had last seen Fatima. The girl walked a few meters and pointed to a spot on the path. From there, the mother made a decision. She sent Daniel to alert his siblings and ring the church bells to call the community for help. She continued alone, going down the slope. She had barely gone 2 meters when she found something: banknotes scattered among the grass and branches. Nearby, partially covered by a bush, was Fatima's sweatshirt, with the school emblem and her name embroidered on it. The sleeves were tucked inside, as if someone had grabbed her forcefully. The garment was stained with blood. The mother grabbed the sweatshirt and ran back up, shouting for help. "Fatima's not here. Her sweatshirt has blood on it." A neighbor told her they had already called the police. Minutes later, municipal officers arrived, listened to the account, and said they had to wait for the state investigative police. Meanwhile, the bells kept ringing, and neighbors organized search groups. At that point, Lorena, the mother, stood clutching the sweatshirt to her chest, as if holding on to it could bring her daughter back. She told people to search around the house of Jose and Misael. She ran toward the house with the wooden fence and saw Jose Juan walking down the stairs without a t-shirt. Something felt wrong. Then she faced Misael. He was carrying Fatima's backpack. She tried to stop him, but he pushed her to the floor and ran out. Family members came to help. They tried to enter the house of Misael and Jose Luis Angel. Misael and El Pilon ran away. Lorena asked her husband to go in. Her son-in-law and Lorena entered and looked for Fatima, but instead they found more clues. Shoes covered in blood, a blood-stained cap, a bucket of water mixed with blood, as if someone had washed their hands, and a pair of jeans soaked in blood. The son-in-law used a stick to lift a blood-stained t-shirt and told the community they were here. They did something to Fatima. Neighbors shouted to Lorena from outside, "Come here, there's more blood." She followed the tracks through vegetation and mud, turned to the right, and saw one of Fatima's sneakers, with part of her leg still inside. She thought someone had cut off her daughter's leg. Then she heard Daniel, 10 years old, Fatima's youngest brother, who never left his mother's side, screaming, "Mom, look, it's Fatima. Please help her. She can't breathe. She's covered with dirt. Please help her. Take her hand." In that moment, the mother understood. What happened next marked the beginning of a grief that would never end. The neighbors reacted immediately, running to Luis Engel and Misael's house, pulling them into the street and hitting them. The crowd shouted to burn them. Someone even brought gasoline and poured it over them. In the middle of it all, police officers asked the family to stop the attack. Fatima's mother, voice trembling but firm, stepped forward. "No, we want them to pay in life for what they did to Fatima. Death is not enough punishment for what they did to my daughter." At that moment, she didn't yet know all the details of how her daughter's life had been taken, details that would later horrify anyone who heard them. But she stood her ground. Let them face the law. Her intervention stopped the lynching. Family members helped the police place Luis and Misael in the patrol car. Suddenly, people began shouting that another suspect, nicknamed El Pelon, Jose Juan, had just arrived at his house. The crowd moved quickly in that direction, while police officers asked Fatima's mother for a sheet and rope to help recover her daughter's body. The officers took the suspects away, including El Pelon. The community and the family believed justice would finally be served. But what followed was a chain of negligence and indifference. Lorena, the mother, described it as the beginning of an infernal process. The forensic examiner advised the family not to see Fatima's body, given the severity of the violence she had endured, recommending they remember her with the smile she always had in life. Even for the forensic team, it had been difficult to face the reality of the case. For 10 years, the family sought justice. The case was marked by betrayal, institutional neglect, and endless delays. The crime scene was never properly secured, evidence was contaminated, and forensic experts visited the site 15 days later. The family themselves had to collect key evidence. Lorena described the frustration of dealing with state, federal, and human rights authorities that, instead of helping, subjected them to humiliation. One federal judge even requested that the mother prove her daughter had already begun menstruation in order to classify the case as feminicide. The family had to plead for an arrest warrant against Misael, but the judge refused, arguing he was a minor 17 years and 8 months old and that the evidence was insufficient. This, despite having items with the victim's blood, clothing linked to the suspects, and other findings at the scene. 2 years later, an arrest warrant was finally issued when Misael was almost 21, but he was tried under juvenile law since the crime occurred while he was a minor. The maximum penalty was 5 years. Authorities told the family that Misael had the right to a life project and that society should respect his rights. According to the official forensic testimony, Fatima was just meters from her home when she was intercepted by 2 attackers in front and 1 behind. She was cut on the face and neck in the first moments. Taller than her assailants, she fought back fiercely, even injuring one of them. This enraged the group, leading to escalating violence. She was struck in the face with a chain, causing severe injuries, and was forced to walk to the site where she was found. She endured repeated stabbings meant to overpower her, injuries to her torso, dislocated bones, and brutal sexual assault by all 3 men. Still alive, she was finally killed by repeated blows from heavy stones, each weighing over 30 kilos. Later, the family began receiving death threats for having accused El Pelon, who was later identified as the one who planned the attack. He was sentenced to life in prison, but his family's alleged connections to organized crime and the military forced the victims' relatives to relocate 7 times. After such cruelty, Fatima's young life was gone, but her strength in those final moments became the fuel for her family's unbreakable fight. From that day on, every step they took was driven by the need for truth, justice, and dignity for her name. It wasn't just the crime itself that broke them, it was the endless obstacles, the corruption, and the indifference that followed. Every court date, every official meeting, was another reminder that justice in their country often depends not on truth, but on power. As if the pain and loss weren't enough, 5 years later, while still under government witness protection, Lorena's youngest son, Daniel, died at 15 due to medical negligence. He was repeatedly turned away from hospitals, told his symptoms were just anxiety, and was injected with medication without proper examination. The autopsy revealed an internal injury and complications caused by the medication administered. No one was held accountable. Lorena lost both her children, Fatima and Daniel. She carries the weight of grief, anger, and a deep sense of injustice, but she refuses to stay silent. Her fight is not only for her own family, but for every family who has been silenced by fear, corruption, and indifference. Her voice and Fatima's story remain a call for justice that cannot be ignored.